So I discovered back in January that as part of BP's massive sponsorship effort for the Olympics, it was sponsoring the World Shakespeare Festival and specifically a trio of plays at the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford. And that made me really angry because BP has a long history of using the arts and culture to shore up its reputation, to green its image, when that is not at all what is deserved. So I felt like I couldn't let this stand and that I should try and do something about it.
So the idea for these interventions was to go to the theatre, buy tickets, go in as usual, go in as though you're a normal member of the audience, but then before the play begins, to jump up on stage and do some kind of performance in a Shakespearean style that fits in with the theme of the play, but that very specifically challenges BP and their sponsorship of that play.
My friend Jess came round to my house after Christmas. I'd been telling her how I was desperate to do some acting again after a break of 10 years, and she told me about her idea for these theatrical interventions in the World Shakespeare Festival.
So we decided to launch the Reclaim Shakespeare Company at Stratford-upon-Avon on Shakespeare's birthday, just before a performance of The Tempest that was sponsored by BP.
First we went to the theatre, saw the show, got a sense of the space, how loud did we need to speak, how easy would it be to get on the stage. Then we went away and wrote something, then we rehearsed it, and then finally we got the costumes.
So quite a lot of practical things to think about. We bought tickets in advance, so we had seats near the front, but figuring out where the people who were filming it were going to sit. We decided in the end that the performers were going to walk in and get straight up on stage rather than sitting in their seats. But Richard was in full doublet and hose, so he had to borrow a giant coat to cover his costume up so that the RSC staff wouldn't notice that something was afoot.
Before I actually got onto the stage, I felt pretty scared, but not body-numbingly scared, which is what I feared might be the case when we first talked about doing this.
Okay, so we're here for a production of The Tempest, which BP is sponsoring at the Royal Shakespeare Company. We're about to take to the stage to try and stop BP fooling people into believing that they're a green, caring company, when the reality is that they're one of the most environmentally destructive companies in the world. They still haven't cleaned up after the Deepwater Horizon disaster 2 years ago. They're now planning to drill for oil in the Arctic, and they're investing in the tar sands in Canada. So, off we go.
What country, friends, is this, where the words of our most prized poet can be bought to beautify a patron so unnatural as British Petroleum? Let us break their staff that would bewitch us. Out, damn logo!
The reaction from the audience felt, by and large, really positive. It felt like people were listening to what we were saying, they were laughing at some of the jokes. At the end, we got a huge round of applause, we bowed a couple of times, and right at the end of the production, we discovered that a number of people had actually torn the BP logo out of their programmes and handed them in to us at the end.
After the initial performance at Stratford, there have been 4 more Reclaim Shakespeare performances, one more at Stratford before Twelfth Night, that was a musical intervention.
When I hear that BP story.
Our performance at the Roundhouse. A villain in a poet's mask who with his daring folly burns the world. Then we did one before Romeo and Juliet in Baghdad at the Riverside Studios in London.
2 households, the World Shakespeare Festival and BP.
And the most recent performance was at the British Museum in their BP-sponsored Shakespeare exhibition.
Double, double,
Well, the reaction to the campaign has been great, particularly amongst the audience that we really want to reach, which is people in the theatre world. We've been getting some really good feedback from people who are unhappy with BP sponsorship, but maybe feel it's difficult for them to speak out themselves.
I've seen actors, really well-known actors, coming on board with the campaign, offering their support to it in a way that I never dreamt we'd have got to 6 months ago when we started this.
So we've got some more interventions planned. As long as BP is sponsoring Shakespeare, we're going to pop up at the beginning of performances and challenge that. We've also got plans for a piece of mass public theatre, so keep in touch with us for details about that. Even though the campaign's been going really well and we've definitely raised the issue, I think we've got a long way to go before organisations like the RSC are at a point where they are actually going to reject BP as a sponsor in the future. So I feel like we still need more people to get involved in order to really, really force the RSC and others to do the right thing.